is our Raiders insider, Paul Gutierrez, writing for CSNBayArea.com. He's standing by now. Give us your thoughts on this victory, Paul.
Hey, never a doubt, right? Offensive coordinator Greg Knapp actually just walked right by me, and he said, was that exciting enough for you? So, walking into that locker room, I don't think I've ever really been in a locker room that was that relieved and happy at the same time. And Carson Palmer himself said it, that an ugly win is better than a pretty loss, and that's pretty much where they are right now. Any given Sunday, they've got another week to prepare for a game that's going to mean a lot, simply because it's a rivalry game and it's in the AFC West.
Paul, we heard many people say, you know what, this was a must-win game for the Raiders. Frankly, I believe that term or phrase is overused. But was this a must-win game for the Oakland Raiders?
Well, when your quarterback, your chess piece, as you guys have been talking about, says that this is indeed a must-win game, then yeah, it becomes a must-win game. Now, you can look at that and you can say, well, that's just a lot of talk and that's just things to fill up reporters' notebooks during the week. But when your quarterback says that it's a must-win, and if it doesn't happen, then yeah, it could be a season-turning thing. Now, this is not to say that they win this game, this springboards them on to the playoffs or the Super Bowl or anything, but it keeps the hope alive, so to speak. Because if they had lost this game after the quarterback calls it a must-win game, then you're setting yourself up for potential future failure. As it is, it looks like in baseball, a little pop fly that falls in there looks like a screaming line drive in the scorebook. This W looks like a great win for anybody.
Well, Paul, last year guys weren't convinced.
By right now.
Great. Last year, guys weren't convinced who's the leader of this offense. Some people thought it was Jason Campbell, even when he was injured. Others said, no, it's Carson Palmer, the guy who's under center. No question about that this season. Is Carson ready to embrace that leadership role?
Oh, I think he came into camp knowing that this was his team, and he was ready to embrace that role and go forward with that. There was no question about that, especially last year. Now, of course, we're talking about an entirely new regime, new coaching staff, new general manager, as opposed to the regime, so to speak, that made that trade for Carson Palmer. But when they gave up such a heavy bounty to bring him in, there was no doubt, I don't think, in anybody's objective minds that this was going to be Carson Palmer's team. But when he had an entire offseason to work with this offense, to instill a new discipline, so to speak, in offense, in the West Coast offense, in the zone blocking scheme, there's no doubt that it's Carson Palmer's team. But the way he's played these last two games, bringing the Raiders back after throwing that potentially just heartbreaking pick six at Atlanta and bringing them back to score a touchdown in Atlanta, and then today having a couple of bad plays and bringing them back down to tie the game and then get them in position to win it with a field goal, that just lets you know. I tweeted at one point that Carson Palmer was standing tall in the pocket and taking a Jim Plunkett-esque beating, because really that was the thing that endeared Jim Plunkett to a lot of his Raider teammates, was he would stand there and take the beatings and go forward, and I think you're seeing a lot of that from Carson Palmer, especially these last 2 weeks.
Thank you, Paul. Looking forward to reading your story on CSNBayArea.com later today.